We've got OTAs coming up. We're going to look at one of the cards that potentially could get hit. Maybe. There's some leaks out there. Maybe leaks, maybe not leaks. And then we're going to look at what we think are going to be coming. What can you expect from these OTAs? So let's jump in. If you're unaware, there's a spotlight video that comes out. I think it's every week that Marvel Snap does. One that came out, everybody's sort of speculating based on what they saw on this. My understanding of all this, it's a test realm. It doesn't mean anything's definitely changing. It might change, it might not change. But on Twitter here, you can see somebody specifically posted, hey, look, Elias is 6'4". It's going to get nerfed. Maybe. Maybe not. I'm going to do a separate video on Eliath. Even if Eliath gets changed, I'm going to say my piece on that because I've got some hard opinions on it. You're going to want to like and subscribe. Plus, it's the birthday month. So, you know, if you want to throw some love. So the other things that were mentioned here is a Black Widow's Bite was a -1. White Tiger spawns an 8-power Tiger. Forge is a 1/1. Presumably gives maybe +2 instead of +3. And then Ravana was no longer a 3/3. So, I mean, look, these are all things that could change. Just looking at these cards by themselves, Eliath is a card that, you know, is sort of polarizing right now. A lot of people feel pretty strongly one way or another. I'm not going to dive into that one. I'm going to say that for a separate video because there's a lot to say there. Black Widow's Bite at -1. I could see that. That's actually kind of nice. Pretty cool. Feels like a little bit more impactful. The White Tiger spawn and 8 Tiger. That's interesting. I definitely could see White Tiger coming out a little bit more often, especially when on reveal decks. Does it need it? Nah, I don't necessarily think so. I think White Tiger's in a decent spot. Forge? Yeah, you know, it's funny because before I think Forge needed a buff, and now it's like, Forge is pretty strong. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing like a +2, but as opposed to a 1/1, but we'll see. And then Ravana I've been screaming about for a while. So this thing, I don't want to focus anymore on this tweet, but I just wanted to point it out to everybody that is out there and that it's sort of another catalyst for us to talk about OTAs. What we like to do here is we like to look at some stats on most used cards, most winning cards, etc. So right now we're going to start off Marvel Snap Zone. Shout out to them for, again, their fantastic tools. We've got this is the past 7 days. Okay, so for Series 3 Plus, we've gotten all sources on it, all cards possible, and we're going to be looking at released only. And what I want to focus on is the meta share. So, and then we'll obviously look at win rates and stuff like that. You can see, you can sort there as well. All right, so meta share, America Chavez, Elsa, that's fine. That's to be expected. America's been out for a while. Jeff, Angela, Kitty, Nightcrawler. I think that's a lot to do with Elsa. Shang-Chi, he's been out there forever. He's just going to always be here. He's a great tech card. Armor, Sunspot, Vision's playing in with the Angela, Jeff. Elsa stuff, I think it's nice that Vision actually really is feeling impactful. Doom has made a little resurgence. Luke Cage, I expect to go up even more with Man-Thing, even though I think that Man-Thing is maybe not going to make a giant... Like, where's Man-Thing? Oh, he just came out. So I don't actually expect Man-Thing to pop up on this chart. Nebula, I think, still fine. Blue Marvel, Hulk, Bishop. So of all these cards that are on here, I actually legit don't think they should change any of them. I know there was talk about America Chavez being used a lot. I think it's fine. If people want to have a more consistent deck and be guaranteed to have a 6/9 on their final turn, is what it is. Is 6/8 okay? I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'd necessarily change that. None of these other ones I'd even touch. Like, I think these are all totally fine. I think they feel good in the meta. I think it's all good. Tier 2 trending. Forge, we talked about a little bit, and I could see some adjustments here. Maybe, I mean, I wouldn't mind leaving them at 2/1 and then still changing it as a +2 or maybe to 2/2/2. So it's worth, you know, 2 points. It costs 2, it's worth 2, and gives 2. I think maybe that might feel a little bit better, but that's patch stuff. So I don't, that's what I'd want there. The rest of these, I think they're all fine. Killmonger, I actually think could be a 3/2. I think he's just, I don't know. He's a really impactful card. Now, we're not seeing him as much as we used to, but I think I could see that drop a little bit. Shuri, you know, I could see her go down to maybe lose a point or so there. I think people will still use her even at a 4/1. 4/0, I mean, maybe you'd still use Shuri at 4/0. I could maybe see it. Spider-Man, I think solid. Taz, X, Hitmonkey, all of these seem... I think these are all fine. I'm not seeing anything on here that really strikes me as like, I mean, Silk at a 2/4. I don't know. I think the RNG of where she might end up, I sort of like the 2/5, but I suppose I could see that. The rest of these are pretty good. So I'm not going to go through tier 3, but let's scroll all the way down to the bottom and see the reverse side of this. Strong guy. Yes, he's bad. I would definitely, I mean... reduce the cost for sure. Maybe 1 more power. 3/5. I don't know. Is that too strong? I think he's I don't know. He needs something. Negasonic. I mean, it's just such a weird card. You know, it blows up. I mean, I would make it 2 cost first off. Maybe a 2/4. I think that's better. I think you want to be able to play this on a final turn, maybe, you know, with another 4 card or something. And 3 just makes that impossible. So I would look at maybe reducing the cost to 2. And then if needed, take the power down along with it because it's just too cheap at 2. And then Quake. Again, I think maybe moving things around no matter where she plays. I mentioned that in a one before. Howard the Duck. How is Howard still Series 5? I just think that Howard is not a good card. He's not even really used in Iron Lad decks, which is where we thought we might see him. And frankly, it's just, yeah, I mean, definitely at least a 1/3 here. I don't dig it. I mean, I don't know what else you could do to him, honestly. He's just not a popular card. Ronin, honestly, I think maybe Ronin at a 4/2. Maybe we could look at that. Or 4/1 feels pretty weak. I don't know. Ronin not used. Kingpin. Man. Again, maybe a 2 cost. Maybe a 2/3. Something there. I think maybe the cost isn't impactful there. Mordo, let me see the cards. Let me see what I hit. You know, I think that's a change. Master Mold, 2/3. Angel. We talked about Angel before. I think even if he's in your hand, he procs. Groot, I think, honestly, even though he's not used much, I think it's just sort of sad that he's that low. I think he's a solid card. Stegron's just... I don't like Stegron. I think it's bad. I think it's the RNG of it. Cost 4. I mean, again, maybe a 3/4 on it, you know, so that you can maybe play it. That's the thing with cards at 4 cost. You need them to have an impact that you know is really going to help you. And with Stegron, you don't know if that's going to be the case. Rhino, I think actually is fine. Rescue, I believe it or not, think is okay too. Like, I think when you pair that up, I mean, you pair that up with like Professor X type stuff, it's still pretty solid. Omega Red, I've seen be pretty good. Oh, Adam Warlock, we've talked about. Ghost. Again, I think she does what she's supposed to do. I think she's fine. There's nothing. I mean, to me, I don't even know if I'd want to play Ghost in a lot of decks. I mean, you talk about wanting to do it with like maybe a Valkyrie, but Valkyrie's also not all over the place. So I don't know. Ghost is an interesting thought. Spider-Man 2099, I think that's more patch type where you just need to hit more than one location, honestly, so he can do damage. But if you're going to do that, I would reduce the power for sure, maybe to 4/4, because it's doing too much, or maybe even a 4/3. Adam Warlock we talked about before. I'm not going to go back into deep dive in that and check out my last OTA video to do that, but he's definitely a card I'd look at. So I'm not going to go over all of these. I will say that I'm surprised to see a Tuma down here. Silver Samurai, I also was a little bit surprised to see. I thought people would be using him more. Clearly not. I think it's a card that can help with cards like Stature. You know, these 2 cards used to be at the top. Look how far they've fallen. That's just bonkers. Kang, I think, needs a straight rework. We've talked about that in a separate video, so we're not going to do that here. Lady Deathstrike, really low. We'll see if she picks up a little bit. She got OTA'd, and there's some talk that maybe she can help with the current meta. So I think you could see her out there a little bit more. All right, we're going to swing over to Snap.fan. Same concept here. We're looking at game scene. They don't necessarily have a meta share, but it's sort of the same thing. We're going to do last 30 days here instead of 7, because to me, typically when it's 30 days, you're going to be able to see a little bit more. A lot of the cards we already talked about. Chavez, Landshark, Alioth, Nebula, Angela, Kitty, Wave, Shang-Chi, Doom, Armor, Cosmo. You know, those are all really good. And we'll transition to win percentages, win draw during this, and then we'll jump back to the other one. So I want to look at win scene first. Again, nothing in here that I'd really necessarily change. I still don't want to change Alioth. Again, I'll say it again. None of these at the top I'm really wanting to touch. I don't see anything that's just like that. Again, Forge we talked about. I would adjust Forge. The rest of these, pretty good. So let's scroll all the way to the bottom and see what the bottom. I'm expecting the same. Strong Guy, Man Thing. Obviously, he's only been out a day, but I would eventually expect this number to stay low. Not this low, but it will stay low. I don't think there's going to be a lot there. I just don't think it's going to be super popular. Again, we've talked about all these cards. So and the reason I like to look at both of these is so that we can see the different trackers and the different sites to compare. If we can have as many of these as possible, it helps us sort of make sure that the cards are where they're showing. Watu, I know he just got touched, but God, I hated that touch. It was just like, what are we doing here? I just didn't dig it at all. So yeah, so all of these, they're about the same. Again, same comments that we had before. This is just a confirmation that, in fact, those cards are going to be at the bottom or top. So, all right, so let's look at win drawn, win percentage. Elsa just came out, season pass card. Not going to touch it. Don't expect anything. Sauron, maybe take a point off Sauron. You know, I think he still plays at a, what is it, a 3-3 right now? I think at a 3-2, even at a 3-1, I could maybe see Sauron still staying where he's at. He's not super strong, but you don't get the points from Sauron. That's why people don't focus in on him. But I think it would be nice to maybe take a few points off of that. Red Skull, I mean, and that's what we're seeing here. Red Skull, Typhoid Mary, you know, we've got meta stuff here. You're going to see a lot more people playing these decks. They've already been talked about. They've been talked about forever. It's one of the stronger decks that's been around for the longest amount of time. That Sauron deck is really good. If you don't have one saved already in your deck list, you should have it. Put it in there right here and now. Red Skull, I actually thought Red Skull needed a buff. I mean, I don't know, maybe not. I mean, that's the problem with Red Skull. You buff them and then a Sauron deck, it's like, well, good luck with that. Typhoid Mary, I would maybe, but again, Sauron decks, that's tough. Second Dinner's in a tough spot with those cards because, I mean, if you reduce them, then it's like they're bad in certain decks, but this deck makes them clearly very good. I mean, maybe Sauron, maybe that's a patch change where, I don't know, I don't even want to go down that route because then this card in that archetype, what I was going to say is they'd have to be in your hand for it to get it, but that just, I mean, the archetype dies. Misty, I think's fine. A-Bomb, Cyclops, Shocker, that's all high Evo stuff. Brood, I think's okay. Craven, Patriot, Vision, Hulk, Ultron. Yeah, all these I think are generally fine. I don't see anything that I would, again, change. I mean, America Chavez, her win rate, 57. You know, there's stuff quite a bit higher than her win drawn. But the truth is like, I mean, she's always drawn, obviously. When played, it's still pretty high. That's actually kind of surprising. I mean, that would make sense for why Second Dinner would show and want that they might want to change her, but gosh, I hope they don't do anything more than like a 6-8. I just feel like that's, even then I think she's going to get played just as much. She might not win as much, but 6-7 is just like come on. But then again, I think she still gets used as much, but the win percentage is just gone. At least with America Chavez, when you use her, you have a chance to win if you haven't done well. So that's the way I want to see her stay personally. All right, so let's go to the bottom of this list because I think a lot of that is still pretty much the same that we talked about. Let's see if anything down here. Baron Mordo, again, we talked about it. I think that Baron just needs to show what he's impacting. Now, I don't know if it'll play more, but I think it's, you know, pretty solid thing to get changed in a patch. If you were to OTA it, maybe a 2-4. You guys hear my voice changing as I'm doing this? It's pretty hilarious because I think I'm getting like a cold and a sore throat, which is just, good lord, this happens every fall. Warlock we talked about a little bit. Rhino, Angel, Hawkeye, really? I wouldn't touch Hawkeye. I think he's fine as is because if you buff him anymore, he's just going to be a staple all over the place in bounce type decks where he just builds up to get too strong. I think he's pretty solid now, to be honest with you. Titania, I don't think I'd change. She just does what she does. Master Mold, we talked about. Strong Guy, talked about. Crystal, I think she's actually fine where she is. I think she's a pretty strong ability card. I don't think I'd change the power or cost to her at this point. Ravana, yes, needs to change. I've always said 2 cost. Just the power is required for that 2 cost, but it needs to be a 2 cost. It is way too clunky at 3. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit well. I think the card would have been a banger had it been a 2 cost with whatever associated power. Ghost, Giganto. Giganto's fine. Quake, Mr. Negative's dead. Like, Mobius killed Mr. Negative. I had a match the other day where I was playing a Mr. Negative player. They snapped because they got negative on like, I don't know, 3 or something. And they also had Jane. And I had Mobius. And I immediately counter snapped. And I held my Mobius until I think it was turn 5 when I knew they were going to play Jane. And they immediately retreated and I got 4 cubes. Because all of their costs got reversed. Unreversed or whatever you want to call it. I feel bad for Mr. Negative. It's just doesn't work. It's very unfortunate. Domino, Negasonic, Omega Red, Maximus. Again, these are getting to the 50. I think these are all okay. So let's jump back. I don't think there's anything else we want to see on this one. Again, I do like that this is 30 days. So let's go back to Marvel Snap Zone and we'll sort theirs by win rate. All right, again, we're talking about the Red Skull Sauron. So maybe that's something that really needs to be looked at. You know, four of these top, what is this, 7 are all in that deck. I mean, that's pretty nuts. Okoye, what? Now I'm starting to question what these, whoever's using this tracker, like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Okoye apparently got a great win rate here at 60%, which is sort of bonkers. The rest of these, I mean, Lizard, it could be thrown in this group too. I mean, he goes in that deck. I'm going to go double check to make sure, because I don't play this deck very often. I want to go make sure that I've got it saved myself. The rest, again, Shuri, maybe take a point or two off of that. I think the rest of these, I think they're fine. I don't think I'd change any of these. Ultron, you could maybe change to a 6-7, but I don't think we need to do that at this point. I think he's fine. I don't think we're seeing enough of it. Meta shares at 1%. Even with that win rate, it's fine. Average cubes, 0.8. Just looking at the average cubes while they're up here. And I don't see anything. What's Shuri's average cubes? 0.6. So she might not even need anything necessarily. The tier 2 picks, I'm not seeing anything that I'd change. Again, America Chavez, I get she's here. High win rate, average cubes 0.6. I don't think I'd necessarily change it. I just don't. I don't see. And same with anything that I'm seeing here. I hate that Captain Marvel got nerfed a bit. I thought she was fine at a 4-5. I'm curious. I don't remember the meta share for her previously, but I would be curious to see it. So let's go all the way to the bottom here to finish this thing up. Agatha, Ghost Spider. You know, Ghost Spider, geez, poor girl. Probably one of the worst season pass cards we've had. 1-3. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else you do with it. It's just hard. You know what I mean? But she does good stuff, so I don't know if I'd change it. Shauna's just bad. Shauna needs a rework again. I do not like Shauna. I mean, the RNG associated with her is just too high. Maybe you make it so she releases 1-cost cougars. And I'm not saying that as a cougar. I just, because she's in the jungle. But like a 1-2 or something, I don't know. I just think the randomness of the 1-costs it sucks. We've talked about Baron Mordo enough. Spider-Ham got hit hard. I mean, it hurts me because I remember spending a ton of Spotlight caches to open this and being really upset I didn't get the tokens refunded to me, even though I got 2 Series 4 cards and them just being like, sorry, you didn't pull Spider-Ham. I'm like, yeah, I know, because he wasn't in the caches and I wouldn't have opened it. And they somehow determined that I wouldn't have pulled Spider-Ham, which means everything's predetermined, which is insane. So anyway, he could use some love, actually, as much as I think the OTA and the actual nerf to him in a patch, I think that's he could be a 1-2 at least. I think it's fine. The rest of these, poor Mr. Negative. I think Mr. Negative now needs to at least be like a 4-2. I think the -1 needs to change because Mobius makes this card just not exist. I mean, it's just, I don't think people are going to play it. It's just not good. There's too much risk out there with Mobius. I talked about the rest of these. Well, we didn't talk about Doc Ock or Valk. So we'll end with those two. Doc Ock, I mean, I don't know what you do to him. Maybe make him a 4-8, something like that. A little bit better, but I don't know. I don't know if that does anything for him, to be honest with you. I just don't. Valkyrie's tough because if you make her a 4-3, I'd maybe make Valkyrie, well, I guess it doesn't matter how much power she has because she's going to turn herself into a 3. So, you know, maybe if you make her a 4-3, then it gets a Zabu and it's maybe a 3-3. So that gets a little funky. She might be too strong. But you know what? I wouldn't mind the Age of a Valkyrie. Maybe once, you know, an MCU movie comes out or something that makes sense for that, I would maybe look into that, getting her down a little bit, giving her some time to shine, and if it's too strong, you know, just OTA her after the movie's out or something, just to give her some fun. Again, the rest of these, Sandman, I think is going to make a resurgence. I think he's fine as is. You're going to see a lot more Sandman is my guess. All right, so I'm going to end it there. My throat is killing me. I'm obviously got something going on, so I got to start talking like this when I'm talking to you guys in these videos, so maybe we'll end it this way, is that I appreciate you making it this far. Thank you for coming to the channel, supporting me. Appreciate that. It's the birthday month. We're going to keep saying that. So if you want to share with your aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, always appreciate that. Trying to push for 5,000 subscribers. Going to keep doing that for the following month. And if you want to give me some love, I'll give you some love back regardless. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.